Yeah. What's good, guys? It's your boy Hugo the Savage back here for another Savage Talk live. How is everybody doing today? I hope everyone's well. I hope everyone's safe. And I hope you've been paying attention to wrestling. We are stumbling upon Wrestlemania season. We're getting ever closer. Fastlane coming up. AEW Revolution coming up. It's exciting times. I'm excited. I know everyone else excited. This is dope. I can see the comment section going off already because you know what's coming. You know who I've got from across the pond, from across the sea. My tag team partners. Yeah, you know what's coming. We'll just wait for the chat to go up in a bit more, but shout out to everyone in the chat. Shout out to brother Nero here as usual. Shout out to you, brother. Life is complete. Okay, man. I'm glad we can do that for you. That's early in life for it to be complete. You dope, bro. Shout out to you, Chris, Manchester United Devil. You know about that. I'm a Liverpool fan, but you know what I mean? Your family still, bro. Shout out to John Elite. Shout out to Cash No Shadow. Meezy. Shout out to you, Daniel Dudley. Shout out to you, brother. CJ Gamer. Shout out to you. I see the chat's livening up already. You know what? There's no point even holding off. I'm too damn excited, you know, like that. So we're gonna get invested. You know who he is. I'm gonna get you to. They don't need an introduction, but they can introduce themselves anyway. You know, like that. But obviously, I see from the chat that you know the vibes already. Yeah? I ain't been this excited since The Rock turned up at WrestleMania. Was it 31? With Ronda Rousey? Yeah, you know the vibes. Okay. My special guest, tag team partners from across the pond. What are you saying?
What's up? Tag
Oh,
That's what I'm talking about. Tag it.
hey! This
Man,
is how the works.
Woo! A&B Convos Wrestling Edition in the house.
In
Hey,
the
it's
Respect
love.
for Wrestling Savage.
I just said behind the scenes, but I'm saying it again. I'm so excited to have you guys on the channel. Been trying to work out for a minute. Like you just told me, you've been watching for a while. I actually remember the first video I watched of you guys, and then when I seen you in the comment section, I didn't even know it was the same people. I think it was you was doing a giveaway.
Oh,
And-
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and as soon as I heard, oh yeah, I love it, man. And I was like, no way. I was like, no way on this planet. Someone managed that. There's a couple doing wrestling content, and it's just perfect. And it's just, I'm like, okay, this is amazing. I love every second of it. So thank you very much for being on the channel.
Thank you for having us.
It's exciting time. As you can see in the chat, it's going off. They're all excited. So I'm guessing most of these guys are already subscribed to you. But if you're not subscribed already, guys, what are you doing with your life?
Come on, what are you doing with your life?
Subscribe.
Missing out, man.
Come on.
But yeah, we're here. Shout out to Maurice Reigns in the chat, head of the table. Here, of course you are.
Yes.
Of course.
Legends. Martel Thomas, Sean Jager. Shout out to you guys. But yeah, we're just here to talk good old wrestling. But what we're going to do, we're going to kick off with a little bit of wrestling news from in the week. I definitely want to get to know you guys a little bit better. You're interested in wrestling and stuff like that. And then we'll just head off from there. So any news, what comes from the week? There's been a few things. There's been more hip hop and wrestling beef. I don't know if Soulja Boy's got a death wish, but
Yes.
yeah. So it's been crazy.
Excited about that beef. Actually, it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. What do you guys think of what Soulja Boy had to say on wrestling, and then the response from the Viper himself?
Man, if you watch Young Rock, they really already covered that when the Rock called it fake, and everyone got quiet. And Andre the Giant picked him up. Does this feel fake to you? And I think that is what RKO was saying to him. Like, yeah, come on and see if it feels fake when I RKO you. Like, just because something is scripted does not mean it's fake. Like, they are really putting their bodies on the line.
For sure.
Yeah, they don't really understand. And the bottom line is this. On our channel, one of the things we always wanted to make sure that we do and we express to people that we know what professional wrestling is and what it isn't. And the bottom line is it's entertainment, and we are entertained. But these are athletes, regardless of this being a scripted show or not. These are athletes on the road 300 days out of the year. And like Orton said, you get surgically repaired and you come back. So if you want to step into this world and you want to disrespect, because the number one thing in pro wrestling is respect. And if you disrespect pro wrestling, you're gonna get the slap taste out of you. The taste stuff out of your mouth. So that's what I was gonna do.
I feel like every time I hear something like that, it comes from ignorance. And I don't really like it. It's something what still to this day, if someone mentions him, I'm just like, come on now. I've said on the channel pretty much every week. I'm a massive Marvel fan and Star Wars, and I kind of Can you imagine being in the cinemas? Thanos snaps his fingers, Iron Man snaps his fingers. I'll just watch Tony die, and then someone stands up in the cinemas and goes, it's fake. I'm like, come on,
right?
But don't talk about Iron Man die. I still feel some type of way about that.
Don't get him started.
Don't get me started on.
I'm not happy about that death, but it is the exact same thing. That's a really good analogy.
Yeah, so it's been a bit crazy, but I knew when Randy snaps back, it's
you don't want that. You don't want that. As the Street Profits say, you don't want that smoke.
Right.
as soon as I seen the tweet, I was like, fake.
Right.
And he thought he was just gonna let that slide, like it was gonna kind of, And I'll tell you what's interesting. Who was it from Retribution? Was it I think it was T-Bar that also responded, and honestly, that's the most aggression I've seen from T-Bar since he's been in Retribution.
Bring that to the ring.
So bring that to the ring, and then we can talk a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy, but it's all in the same. And to be fair, it all works in WWE's favor in the end. You just bring in more light to it. But I know what Soulja Boy's about. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's trying to hang on. So it'd be fun. It's fun. All the news I've seen this week. Well, you guys covered it a little bit, just so let's get straight into it because it's the talking point of the day. Anyone who watched AEW, first of all, shout out to Shaq for that Brody Lee tribute. Shout out to Shaq for that Brody Lee tribute because it was dope.
The whole thing was just so good. Great. No one expected that. I don't think anyone expected that
at all. I thought it was a beautiful, touching moment, to be honest. And it just shows what wrestling does to people because everyone felt it. I was in the comments, so I was very happy with that. And then, well, do you want to take it away with what we've seen from the big show? Because
I mean, look, the thing is, and this is the difference between Soulja Boy and Shaq. As you know, Shaq being an NBA star, but he also was a hip hop star. I mean, he had an album. He did some stuff. So, but he's been in pro wrestling for over a decade. He knows what it's all about. He respects the business. What we saw yesterday is this man came in here. He had, like The Rock said, you've got the showmanship. You sell it. And I believed it. If you didn't know Shaq was an NBA star, you would just think he was one big giant.
For sure.
To wrestle. So dynamite. But Big Show, no more BS.
That is a marketing bit of genius.
Come on now. That was... my question is, who is it that we're going to see?
Man. I want to know.
That's what we want to know.
Do you have a guess and then do you have a wish? And are those two the same? Like, do you have a guess of who you really think it is? And then do you have a guess of who you wish it would be?
I'm actually struggling more with the wish who I want it to be, but I was trying to figure out a few things. As soon as he said it, and I was trying to pick up on a few hints.
Yeah.
Be Hall of Famer, which means it's somebody who has already had a full career in WWE, I assumed. And it sounded like, and I watched it back at first hint, he mentioned AEW Revolution, but it sounded like he said Evolution, and then I lost my head, and you see the film, I was like, it's Batista, for sure. It's just
a few people have been saying that.
Yeah, and then I just decided I'm just going to go on Twitter and see what everyone else is saying. And somebody asked Batista, and he responded, but his response didn't shut the whole thing down. Now, did you guys see his response?
No.
So I've got his response right here because I've saved it.
Okay.
And then see what you take from this.
All right.
I think it's here. Yeah. So if you look at the bottom, that's the person who made the comment to him, and Batista's reply is at the top. And I don't know.
Oh, snap.
Oh.
Because you know he said he was retired.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Wow.
Man.
So,
Okay. Okay. Yeah, when we saw your thumbnail, we said it's we're in. We're in.
Who did you think what would be?
What did you say? What we think it would be?
Yeah.
Well, he thought it would. He was like, "What if it's Bray Wyatt?" And that's why we haven't seen him. And I was like, "Wait, what if they did that?" And Bray Wyatt came over here because he was really distraught over Brody Lee. Like that was his best friend. And so I wonder if he like found a way to like in honor of Brody come over here. And then, so what WWE is doing is making Randy be possessed by Bray to carry on that character.
Okay.
But Bray himself would be, you know what I mean? Like, and I know that's crazy, but to me, that would be the craziest scenario.
I mean, we know there's a 90-day no-compete clause.
Right.
We know this. It hasn't been 90 days since we haven't seen him on television. But I'm just saying,
it would be
like the most far out, far left could you imagine? Because the thing is that I'm seeing right now, I don't know if anybody out there remembers what it really was like during the Monday Night Wars, but WWE, that was legit. Everybody was fighting for their very existence. You had a guy who would come on Monday Night Raw and on the very same night appear on Monday Nitro. I mean, that was insane. It would be the most insane thing to all of a sudden see Bray Wyatt appear in AEW. Just
right, yeah. Like you were saying before, with the contracts like they are now, that's probably not going to happen like it did back in the day. But
I just threw it out there.
It would be crazy.
Now you've said it, it doesn't sound that crazy to me. I mean, I would assume that if there's one person, actually, knowing Vince, no, but I don't know, because there's been so much talk about you've got Impact in AEW and New Japan at the moment. You've had people asking superstars whether AEW and WWE would ever work together. They asked Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, he said no way. Yeah. But they asked Kenny Omega and he was like, I'm angling for it. It's what I want. I know he's friends with the New Day. I do think a lot of fans have this perception that, he's friends with Xavier. These are close friends. They've been in all these gaming tournaments.
Right.
There is a perception from the fans that the people in AEW just hate everyone in WWE, when I'm like, that's not the case.
No.
These guys are friends. It's crazy.
If people in AEW have issues with WWE, it's not going to be the wrestlers. It's going to be management, right? Like, everybody's just trying to do what they love for a living. Yeah. And so if your best friend, I mean, we have couples. I mean, that, the wife is in WWE, the husband is in AEW.
Vice versa.
You were just saying right yesterday, Britt Baker is dating Adam Cole. Like, you have all this crossover already that I'm sure the wrestlers would love a crossover, but we know how the McMahons are. That's that's not going to happen.
No.
Yeah. Well, I agree. There's a lot of crossover already. You've got the Lana and Rusev or Miro. Like Adam Cole and Britt Baker. There's a lot going on. Even we've seen Adam Cole backstage of the Brody tribute. And if you've seen that video, he was wrestling with his son and stuff like that. Eric Rowan appeared on AEW for the tribute, but then he was on the New Day podcast doing the tribute on there, but that's on the network as well. So I don't know. We could be getting swerved by everyone.
I mean, we could be, but the thing is, you have the largest athlete in professional wrestling coming out saying he's got the biggest scoop. He said it, the biggest scoop ever.
Ever.
What he said. So, we know professional wrestling, you kind of build it up a little more than it is. but I think legitimately we will be surprised at who this is.
Well, and you could only be surprised in AEW these days because everything gets leaked in WWE. So we always know what's going to happen. You're usually not shocked, but AEW, they've been able to be like, wait, what? Who?
Exactly.
Yeah, we're excited.
I mean, I think the most shocking person at this point would be if it was Brock Lesnar. Because this guy, he cares about the wrestling business, protecting the honor of it and the respect, but he's all about business. And let's be honest, I think the reason why we haven't seen him in the WWE, I know his contract ran out, but it's because they can't afford it. It's trying times. They were paying him $600,000 for an appearance, and most of the time it was Paul talking for him. So, and if anyone can afford it, it's Tony Khan. So,
well, we know that's what happened with Paul White. I mean, negotiations broke down, and it's really kind of sad because you have this guy who's been in this business for so long, who's been not only in the business but in WWE for as long as he has. Like, he was a staple at this point. 100%. People do forget that he was a WCW guy.
WCW, yeah.
So it's no surprise that he's going back to work with people that he used to work with 20 years ago. But that's the thing. AEW is today's WCW. And the thing is, the McMahons, they seem to forget history. And we've mentioned this before, where you are fighting for your existence, and that created the Attitude Era. You're going to wrestle as if this is our last show, because it could have been. And that's why you saw, if everybody watched AEW, you had Eric Bischoff came out and he said, Mr. 83 weeks, 83 straight weeks, WWE got their butts handed to them by WCW, and they just made it. Then you make it, you buy out all the competition, and you rest on your laurels, and it shows in your program. And then out comes that is AEW. And now AEW, the ratings through the roof. You put NXT. We love NXT.
Yeah.
But it's not to the show to the degree that AEW is. So you're gonna come with it right now, especially you've got the Big Show who says, look, we're gonna go ahead and do this. You got Shaq, you got Snoop Dogg. They are spending money to put on a heck of a show, and that's what we got. So
I think the fans, the one thing that I've noticed is we love nostalgia. We love things from the past. It's embedded in everyone because the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression time was so incredible. And then we went so far removed from it when everything went PG, but it wasn't gradual. It just happened.
Right. It's
just one day, no one's bleeding anymore.
Right.
No one's swearing anymore. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but you have to slowly take us away from it. And as soon as AEW comes, it's fresh. And arguably one of the biggest stars on WWE when AEW was made was Jericho. So to let him go, the great wrestler he is, the great superstar he is, and then you lose Moxley, who's on. It's just, I think it's. I have no idea. I think it's endless possibilities for AEW. I think they can get whoever they want. I think everyone seems very loyal to WWE, but if they're being mistreated,
right,
and they're still passionate for the business, and it's not just about money, then I can see that. Apart from The Undertaker, I can see everyone just doing what's best for them.
Yeah.
So, it's a weird one.
I kind of feel like when AEW started doing, the barbed wire and the tax and stuff again, and they were having, because they had blood on like the first episode, and I mean, like Cody was bleeding. You got, Dusty bleeding, and I felt like so. WWE tried to kind of do that with the stupid Shayna Baszler thing where she supposedly bit the back of her neck. And we were like, what just happened? Like, that, what? Like, then they just had to take her off because they didn't know where to go from there. And it was just like.
It's, we think that the issue for us, we're long time WWE, long time. Okay, but that doesn't mean we didn't watch WCW. That doesn't mean we watch AEW or Impact. We watch it all.
Of course.
When you have a program like Raw, like SmackDown, that doesn't seem to know what direction they want to go. They've got The Fiend, you've got Roman Reigns, so you've got these little pieces of gems in a 2-hour or 3-hour show that just is kind of a mess. Whereas AEW just seems to fire on all cylinders for 2 straight hours.
Yep.
come on, guys. You need to look at the competition and don't act like it's no big deal. Because McMahon was like, and take a look. You don't seem to remember your history about what happened back in the day. So, and it shows.
Yeah, I think it's getting to the point now where I can see, because a lot of people bring it up all the time, and I'm always of the point of, you look at the competition, but it's not our company. We're just wrestling fans, so we're into every bit of wrestling. A lot of people take it really serious, where they're like, "No, don't watch AEW, it's ridiculous." And I'm like,
"What?"
Anyone who says that to me, I'm like, "You haven't watched it yet, have you? You haven't watched the full episode, because it's amazing. Everything, there's more than one thing can be right. WWE can be amazing, AEW can be amazing, New Japan in its own right can be amazing. But what I do see from WWE a lot of is, which they say on TV as a script, but what's best for business. They really are what's best in terms of money. And then the greatness of pro wrestling itself is kind of pushed to the side. And that's why you see guys who thrive on NXT. They come up to the main roster, and then they're just Bobby Roode, EC3, Ricochet, AOP. They just disappear.
Yep.
And there's only one place for them to end up now. Before there was no competition. Right. And then we had the pandemic, and they had that Black Wednesday where they got rid of all these superstars.
Yeah.
They tried to tease us with the old Drake Maverick thing, which felt like a kick in the face to everyone who lost their job.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't feel like the time to be joking around.
Yeah.
And now, Big Show, no pun intended, but it's massive for him to be there.
Right.
It's huge.
Sure.
It's huge, and I can just see it happening more and more.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Is there anyone that you think that has either been underutilized on WWE or who has already left, who you think would thrive on AEW? Because I see a lot of stars there.
You know what? For me, I'm a huge Asuka fan.
Massive.
And she is the Raw Women's Champion. And for some reason, all she's been doing is tag teaming. Now, I was fine with her as a tag team with the Kabuki Warriors. I loved the Kabuki Warriors. I understand one half had to go back to Japan. Cool. But you are the Raw Women's Champion. You are the top dog. And you're not being used. And you're kind of being used to elevate other people, which I understand pro wrestlers are asked to do that for other people.
Yeah, of course.
When you're at that level, you need to come in hard and fast, and we know what she's capable of. We've seen her in New Japan. We know exactly what she can do, and the WWE is not using her to her full potential. And I don't understand why.
It's very strange. It's almost like if you just woke up and thought off the top of your head, who's the WWE Women's Champion? It would take me a while to remember that it's Asuka. I didn't agree with putting her in this tag team. She didn't need it.
No.
She definitely doesn't need it. I'm watching, because my argument was that with the women's tag team division, I was all for it. I was very, like, when they were bringing out the belts, I always said they need another belt. It either has to be some kind of intercontinental belt for the women or a tag team belt. They brought out the tag team belt, and then I'm like, you split the brands up, and there's not enough women on the roster.
Thank you.
So now they've just started throwing just random women together, and then going, why is Naomi in a tag team with Lana when she's so talented? It makes no sense. And then they get one. They had the Riot Squad. They split them up and then put them back together. They had Iconics to split them up for no reason, and then put Peyton with Lacey Evans, and then put Billie Kay, just making her look like a fool every week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what's going on? Then you get Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose, who seem like we're actually going to be a tag team, and then they just don't do anything with them.
No.
They don't do anything.
Crazy.
No.
Absolutely crazy.
And we know Sonya Deville. I mean, obviously, Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose are very good friends. So, but we know what happened with Sonya Deville and that whole situation at her home.
Of course, yeah.
Took some time off, come back. I love her in this role. I love her suits. But I want to see her in the ring. I thought she was a really competent performer, and I thought her and Mandy Rose were very good together. But at the same time, Dana Brooke is also somebody that is very talented, but has not gotten that elevation. No. And so they figure, well, let's put her with Mandy Rose and maybe something will happen, but you can't do this and have them look like a couple of jobbers just to put over tag team champions who also so many times look like they're not champions. Like last night at NXT, that was the first time we really saw them, especially Shayna Baszler, perform at a higher level. But for the most part, it hasn't made any sense. And real quick, I do want to say this because I felt we talked about this so many times on our channel, where the women's tag team division, it's not being cultivated. At one point, you elevated these women and say, okay, look, you're no longer divas, you're superstars, you're on par with men. Well, if that's the case, and you gave them a whole pay-per-view and whatever, if you really break down the matches, if you look at Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, the time on their matches is far less.
It's terrible.
It's terrible. And you have one set of tag team champions, whereas SmackDown has theirs, Raw has theirs, NXT has theirs. So why is it then that the women only have one title that they have to defend between all three brands, if they are in fact on par with the men?
Yeah.
It doesn't, it just, what you're saying to us is, yeah.
But then if the women don't even bother breaking a sweat when they're in the ring doing their routine, they're not showing themselves to be at the same level. To me, also, like, I think that they're just trying to give Charlotte the belt back. To me, they're just like, Asuka's not working. They're just trying to give it back to Charlotte because Charlotte is larger than life and she commands the room and she is a great heel. So, and I think that Asuka fell somewhere between being a face to a heel to a face to everybody's pal. Like they obviously don't know what to do with her. So I think they're just going to give it to Charlotte. But a lot of the other women, I mean, we constantly, including the tag team championships, I mean, they don't break a sweat. They barely do anything. They botch their moves. We constantly say, like, Shayna Baszler runs like she's in molasses, like she's in slow motion. I'm coming, like, and you're like, what is going on? You're supposed to be this MMA scary badass, and you just look like you're playing around.
Yeah.
Or you kick someone's teeth out. Like, she doesn't have a medium. Can you just make it look good somewhere in the middle?
It's terrible.
100%. Guys, in the comment section, I will get to your comments. We all will answer your comments and stuff like that. So keep them going. I'm not ignoring you guys. Just having a nice conversation, like that. One thing I picked up from I think it was your latest video, actually. And you said that a lot of the women could learn from Lita and Trish. And it stuck with me. As soon as I heard it, I was like, yeah, 100%, because I get a lot of, it's not hate, it's friendly banter, but everyone tries to troll me a little bit with my love for Charlotte. But it's not, it's not blinding love. It's just that when I watch the women line up with each other and I'm watching who has all the different aspects of a bit of from before and on the mic and as a heel, and I'm like, well, Charlotte has it, and a lot of women, so a lot of them are lacking behind. Some of it seems a little bit lazy. I see that as well. Yeah, and I'm not even talking physically in the ring. It's just I think you know what I'm talking. It's a lazy on the mic. It's this, I don't know, like, we've made it, we're here, and yeah, it's a shame because the women's revolution. It was great. It was great. I was like, finally, we're going to get to see him wrestle properly. He got elevated. I think the Bellas at the time stepped up their game. All of a sudden, great wrestling. They brought Ronda in, Charlotte, Becky, Asuka, the ringing in ladies from the NXT, and then it just went downhill. And then I think they put all of their effort into Becky. Then they ran over with the man thing a little bit too long. And I think we just seen how bad it was at the last WrestleMania. Now I know it was a pandemic. I know it was getting used to having no fans. I actually tried to watch it back not long ago, and it's worse than I thought because there's not on the dome, so it's just empty. We're gonna really see how good you are now. There's no gimmicks. There's no fans to go off. And the match between I watched Becky's match with Shayna, and I was like, yeah, this was the end of it. This is where they've gone wrong. It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was awful. It's a massive shame. Of course, they can get it back, but I don't know who works for WWE behind the scenes. I know a lot of time everyone just goes Vince, sort it out. Vince is running $1 billion company. I'm sure that he employs people to do certain things. Yes, we know he's behind the curtains, pulling the strings sometimes, but he's got Bruce Pritchard, he's got a group of writers, and it seems like these writers have come from like reality TV programs and never watched wrestling in their life. I reckon if we interviewed them and out of 12 I said, how many of you guys are wrestling fans? They're like, oh, well, I started watching it when Daniel Bryan won at WrestleMania. Okay. Well, now I can see why wrestling's going this way. Yeah. It's bad.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And also I think that for me, every time I see Tamina and that they just struggle to figure out what to do with Tamina, as if she's not this huge, powerful Samoan, the history, she's got the name, the background, the fact that they have not put her with Roman and Jay is insane to me. She came out with Jimmy and Jay. And she's all about family. She's all about history. There is no reason for you to have an enforcer that is part of your family, not be a part of your tribe when you are the tribal chief. We know that's family on the same show. Put her where she belongs as another enforcer like Jay.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I always thought, how badass would it be that Roman walks out with the woman as his bodyguard? She looks badass. She actually, if anything's believable, if a fight happened, I'd expect Tamina to beat everyone up.
Right. Exactly.
Absolutely. It should be like old schools. And this is what I'm saying. Look at your history. When you had DX, you had China. When China came in, I mean, she was an intercontinental champion.
Right.
Okay. Woman.
Thank you. So she should be put in that same position. I don't understand how they haven't figured this out. Like, I was a big fan of Jinder Mahal when he became champion. It was a long time coming, just like Drew McIntyre.
My guy.
Yeah. Right?
I love it.
The history, like he had the dancers, they had the whole fanfare. Like, they really embodied the Bollywood.
They did.
Why they aren't doing that?
Well, maybe that's who's signing with AEW.
Hey.
It's Jinder Mahal.
Well, that's not possible.
You don't think that?
I love Jinder Mahal. I love Jinder Mahal. But
good.
I don't know.
Well, whatever. I don't know. I just thought.
All right. We'll put a pin in that. We'll put a pin in that.
Yeah, I thought Jinder was great. You're probably the first person I've heard agree with me on that. I loved him as a champion.
He was great.
Yeah.
He was fantastic as a champion.
He was a great heel.
And completely believable. He had the attitude, the look. We know he had the in-ring skill. It was fantastic. But that's the thing. Becky Lynch, the best she's ever looked was on the mic as the man. And she had that attitude. But her in-ring skills, I mean, let's be honest. They're terrible. They're terrible.
I agree.
I agree. I'm sorry, everybody.
I know people get all out of
but
whack
just
about that.
Look at how she wrestles. It's ridiculous. What I want to see, like we were talking about mic skills. I'm a big fan of Jazz. I don't know how many people out there remember Jazz.
Love Jazz.
Jazz.
She's still wrestling now?
Yeah, she is. She's
on Impact in it, I think.
She said, she did an interview. She said every time she went out to the ring, she put a little extra emphasis on every move that she did to make you believe that what she was doing was going to hurt. So I want to see all the women get pulled out, put back in the Performance Center. You get trained by Jazz for in-ring skills, and you get trained on the mic by Stephanie McMahon. Because Stephanie McMahon can cut a promo like no other woman can. Flat out. You do that, you bring them all back, I'm telling you, that women's division, elevated.
I agree with you 100%. What we was talking about before about people learning off Trish and Lita. I was having this conversation with my 12-year-old son last night. We were watching old episodes of SmackDown. I like to show him, even it was all in with how it used to be.
Yeah.
And he was watching Stephanie talk. She was backstage. I think it was when they were trying to like poach different superstars from SmackDown and Raw, and she was mad that Bischoff had spoke to Triple H and got him on Raw. And my son said, isn't it incredible that two of the best, not just wrestlers, but in talent, but superstars are not wrestlers? Because every time Shane has a match at a pay-per-view, it's a show stealer. Even they put him on first against AJ Styles. It was great. They put him against Undertaker. He was great. And then Stephanie comes in the ring. She's not a wrestler. Yes, she's been around the business her whole life.
Yeah.
Even when they put her against Ronda, we knew Ronda was going to kick her ass.
Yeah.
But it was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
And I just don't know what people are. Listen, I don't know the business inside out, but I do wonder what is going on. Is it laziness? Is it complacency? Is it just I'm getting this WWE money and no one's saying anything to me, so I'm gonna go? Because a lot of people, I heard Roman say it as well on Corey Graves' podcast. He was very brutally honest. It sounded like he was being the tribal chief, but he said, "This is how I really am. I'm just not as arrogant most of the time, but." He's like, I deserve what I get. He said, the only people I see busting their ass, how I bust my ass and wake up every day and do all of this, is me and maybe Seth. That's what he said. And he said a lot of people complain about not getting a push and, well, I deserve this. And then he said they get the title, they get the ball, and then they come in the locker room and start moaning, oh, I've got to go do a TV appearance. He was like, I got F5 by Brock Lesnar 3 times. I had an hour's sleep. I woke up. I went to the Today Show, and he's talking about flying. I'm like, yeah, a lot of people like the spectacle of I'm going to be a WWE wrestler, and then when they get the hard work, it's got to be one of the hardest professions on the planet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, professional wrestling is, like we said, you're on the road 300 days out of the year. You have no off time unless you get injured or you decide to take a little vacation after several years. You get injured, you come back, and you do it all over again. People don't understand who aren't in this industry. It's the ignorance to see that it's fake, like Soulja Boy would say, it's fake. You don't know what you're talking about. But for me, I think it's a combination of things. I mean, it obviously starts at the top and works its way down. But like we were watching even last night, even on AEW, there's this training that they give the wrestlers, especially the women wrestlers, to sell a move. The problem is this is old school training like they used to do back in territory days when you wasn't televised, you couldn't zoom in. Like I said all the time, we can see you when you get hit on your butt and you're doing this. Why are you doing this?
Right.
You just got kicked in your ass and you're doing this. You know, so it's you gotta
watch. I'll show you. There you go.
And Natalia loves to do this. She loves.
Oh, please, don't bring that. Don't.
I hate to say it, and it's fine if you have the technical skills. Like my dad taught me when I first learned how to drive. He taught me how to drive, but when I actually learned from professional school, they said, "Look, whatever you learned before, put it out the window. I'm going to tell you the way to do it." Because you have the technical skill to be a wrestler, and that's fine, but you're a performer. I don't want to see dancing with the wrestlers. I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
I don't want to see choreographed moves. I don't want to see you switch over. I don't want to see you help the other person. When I go to see David Copperfield or David Blaine, it's a magic show. I don't want to see the strings being pulled, or I don't want to see that. I know what it is. Just put on a good show and make me believe that this was a UFC match, not that this was just an exhibition bout and nobody got hurt. Everybody's okay. No. Nobody wants to get seriously hurt. We know there are injuries. All I'm saying is, like with Sheamus and Drew, if you saw that match, everything they did, it was extra emphasis.
Oh my God.
Like Booker T said, you're gonna go out there, you're gonna get beat from pillar to post, go in the back and apologize after. That's it.
Yeah. He don't want no water. He don't want no bread. He just want meat. What you just said is what I've been trying to get across to everyone in the chat for weeks, because we're in a time now where everyone knows too much but knows nothing. So I'm getting these comments, and it's like someone has a match, and I get a comment, he deserves a push, he deserves a title. Why? If he deserved it, then he would get it. I don't like. There's this thing when I was growing up watching wrestling. I was never. He deserves to do this, because I'm watching it. And I'm like, no, I can tell that this has been rehearsed so many times. Where I want to believe what I'm watching. And I recall a time we were having a group chat, this Twitter thing between. I think the conversation started with Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate and a couple of indie wrestlers on the circuit, and we were watching Ricochet versus Will Ospreay, New Japan, and they were doing the most incredible stuff.
Yeah.
But a few of us was like, yeah, this is amazing. But they were saying it was the best wrestling match they've ever seen. And I was like, where's the story? I just see two people looking like acrobats.
Yeah.
Like if this was at circus, it would be the best thing I've ever seen. But they were doing like, there was a part where both done backflips and crossed each other, and then they both landed in like a superhero pose.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but this isn't realistic, bro. Like you know what I mean? It's not realistic. And
yeah.
100%. I see little things, and I know you guys would pick up on it as well. Little things I noticed with people like AJ Styles, just little timing things, what he does with timing and the way he sells certain things. Just little subtle things. It's crazy, but nowadays it's all, you can tell that this has been a rehearsed dance. Sometimes it feels like you've rehearsed it 50 times through.
I hate it.
Yeah, and I want to believe that you guys don't like each other. Like you said, with the Drew and Sheamus match, it just happened. We kept going, is this real? Are they fighting for real? Like, we're not even sure at this point, because that hurt.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the matches where you're like, oh, I think maybe there's really beef, or because like you actually don't know if it's fake anymore. And that's great. That's when it's a good match.
I agree, because that's what we want. I watched Drew on Raw Talk after that match, and he was still out of breath and sweating, and he was like, he had all the marks down his side and stuff, and he was like, yeah, Sheamus. He said if he wanted a title shot, all he had to do was ask, and he threw the friendship away, and we've had to kick the crap out of each other. And I believed him. I was like, yeah, this feels like it really happened. Like Drew really got the title, Sheamus really got jealous, and he just wants to beat you up, and I love it. But
and then
parts where the show was too much as well. So
right. And then for the people who are like, no, I think Natty is great. Like, okay, well then when have you ever seen Natalya be sweating at the end of a match?
I mean,
you don't. We have seen some of these ladies go the distance and put their bodies on the line, and we're like, wow, you know what I mean? I mean, even Sasha and Bailey really earns my respect when they carried
the company for the whole pandemic. They carried the whole company, and you're 100% right, because I think was it like 2 days ago, what's the Takeover Brooklyn, I think, or one of them, Takeover Dallas, Bailey and Sasha. That's what you do. That's what you do. There's chemistry there. They kick the hell out of each other. I don't want to know anything else behind the scenes. Right. Film your documentary, but when you're filming it, can you cut out the part where you give each other a hug? Just stop.
Right.
Exactly. And talk to your camera crew. Your camera crew needs to know. Get that angle, but don't get that other. And like you need to know there's certain things we want to see and certain things that we don't, because it takes us out of what we're trying to watch and what we're trying to believe. Like we go to, before the pandemic, we used to go to movies all the time that were in development. And so, and depending on the stage it was. So the effects weren't finished, stuff like that. So it took us, we got the general gist of what we were watching, but when the effects weren't there, it took us out of what you're watching. I don't want to see that. You really have to talk to your people. And I think it would be it'd be one of the biggest things if WWE really did say, you know what, we're going to pull, like there was that story when certain people like Keith Lee was saying, we're going to go back to performance. We don't like the way you're wrestling in the ring. I think, honestly, you need to look at your roster and just say, 3/4 of you, we're going to pull you out. And make it a story. Like make this be known that we're doing what we can to make this product better for you, for us, the audience, and then come back and put on a show like you have never seen before. I'm telling you, they that's what they won't.
Yeah,
they should.
I couldn't agree more. I remember at the time I didn't know it was happening. I just thought the Big Show was injured. And then when I grew up and I was reading back, I was like, oh, they sent him back to developmental, the Big Show. Yeah, he was already the Big Show as well. It wasn't Paul White coming in from WCW. Yeah. And I couldn't believe it, but I was like, well, fair enough if you're not pulling your weight on the roster, then get back there. Because if you speak to the wrestlers and you ask them who the best wrestlers are, not in terms of stardom and who sells the most tickets, they all say shocking people that people wouldn't think, because most people, I think, I heard Booker T saying the other day, who's the most underrated wrestler? And I had just done a video on Savage Talk about it, and I said that possibly Christian is the most underrated. And I watched Booker T, and he said he said his footwork is ridiculous. He said no one is more perfect in the ring than Christian. He never gets anything wrong. You can't tell anything different, and he hardly hurts himself. But yeah, I think you're right, because I see a lot of people in NXT developmental, and I'm like, they're ready, and someone should swap here. And I said, you can make, like you just said, you can make it into a story, so we don't have to know you're back in developmental. It just looks like you've gone to NXT to give somebody a shot. And I also said they can mix it up in terms of just doing it anyway. Like someone like Dolph Ziggler, I don't dislike this guy at all, but everyone thinks I do because I bring him up all the time. But for the last, since he was fighting against The Miz, when The Miz had the title, Intercontinental title, maybe 2 years ago now, and they were doing that whole thing where if Dolph, you're going to end up losing your career. And in real life, they were talking about he might give up and he might go and do stand-up comedy and stuff. I believed it. He went back to the great Dolph Ziggler, and then he just fell off again. And then he started imitating everyone's entrance music and stuff. Go to AEW and fight Johnny Gargano, man. We wouldn't know. You're helping him out. He's helping you out. You know what I mean? It happens in life where you get into a profession, you get really good at something, and because you're so good, you start relaxing. Yep. And you don't even realize that these young ones are coming through, and they're better than you. They're doing things way more better than you. I mean, you've got him on your T-shirt, but when I watch Keith Lee, everything looks real.
Real. Yeah. The people who are flying across the stadium, it looks real. I don't see any strings.
You had him. He was North American champ. He was NXT champ for a reason. And then, like you said, like we've said, you bring these people onto the main roster, and you're thinking, "Hey, I graduated. I went from high school to college, and now I've made it in the real world in Raw and SmackDown." And they just dial you down from what we saw on NXT, and it's a real shame. Like we said, you had to have the women's tag team champions go back to NXT to finally have a good match.
It's really? It's sad. I mean, look, we were all looking forward to Keith Lee's Raw debut, and then we heard his entrance music and looked at his attire, and we was like, "What?" And I've never seen so many people all agree on one thing that quick. I went on Twitter and everyone was like, "Where's his attire and what's happened to his music?"
Right, exactly.
It was a mess. It was a hot mess.
We sing to it. Nakamura. I mean, I don't know what they've done to him, but it's just like
nobody knows what they've. It's not even beyond potential. The man had potential, which is why he's in WWE in the first place. Okay, he's an amazing performer, amazing in-ring technician, and for some reason,
great athlete,
a former champion. And what's going on right now? You cannot be used in your position to put other guys over. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, but if you think about it, he actually did win the last 2 matches, did he not?
Yeah.
Last 2 matches, and after this last match, he did his own little message for Apollo that, like, "Oh, you just made this personal. This is not over.
So remember who I am.
Remember who I am." So then I'm like, "Oh, okay. So I guess maybe he's letting us know that he's not about to take this laying down." So
we'll see on SmackDown.
It did look like that, and then I watched the next 2 SmackDowns, and then I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
It just looks like they've got this social media team, and I'm saying it WWE if you're watching, because I say some stuff on the channel, we have these conversations, and then word for word, they've taken something. I'm like, nah, there's no way that you've just got it from your top of your head. Because I was talking about these things with Apollo and stuff, and it's like, oh, well, we went on a few YouTube channels, we went on a few Instagrams, and everyone just keeps talking about Apollo and Cesaro. So you know what we'll do? We'll just let Apollo and Cesaro do something. And I'm like, what? You just what? Oh, so I'm excited to see what happens next with Apollo.
Yep.
Because finally the embrace. Yeah. Because I was fed up of him smiling. Stop smiling. He was winding me up. He's a great wrestler.
Yes.
But he's great.
Yeah.
And I think the saving grace at the moment is these little talking smack and raw talk. I mean, when Paul Heyman's on there anyway, talking smack, he's helping these guys a lot because they're getting a chance to speak, and we can hear from them. But when I watched, like I just alluded to, when I was watching SmackDown with my son, they were doing that same thing, but it was backstage segments. They were talking about it. They didn't need a show after what half of the people ain't watching anymore because it's on the network and not everyone can get it. And I'm like, well, this is how we find out personality from people because it plays a trick on your mind. Wrestling does. You grow up thinking that you love this person because they're great in the ring, and then when you get older, you're like, oh, that was only half of it. It was the personality what got me in. Because the greatest wrestlers. My favorite wrestler is The Rock, but The Rock, Austin, Triple H. I bet you, if I asked you now, what are their moves? You can name their moves, all of them. They've only got about 4 or 5 moves each. Yeah. You know what I mean? I know exactly what's going to happen. So how did Austin get me through this match when I know he's going to do the Lou Fez press and the stomp you in the corner? He's going to do one suplex and he's going to stun you. But somehow, I'm sold.
Yeah.
And then you guys doing 50 moves in a match and we all go, wow. But then when it's finished, it means nothing.
Yeah.
I think that's it in WWE now. I think nothing seems that important. When you win a match, normally you don't get a number 1 contender match. I said they should put the move with the times now. Maybe they should get like a ranking system.
Yes.
What they do in the UFC, where they do it on AEW now as well. I didn't notice before, but like, oh, this guy's won 6 matches, he's lost 1, he's in for a shot. It just makes things look more important. And it doesn't look like you're just pushing people for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Shame, but
exactly. Like you said, these little differences, these little tweaks that AEW is doing, people notice this. And the same goes with WWE. These little tweaks, these little things, we notice this. You will be surprised what people see and don't see. And the thing is, like you said, WWE right now, they're putting on a heck of a show. You know it's not easy, but really, you've got to change some. You got some work to do. You got some work to do.
They do. What was more news from this week? I wrote a few things down here. So I've seen that Eva Marie was training with that new up and coming Parker Bordeaux, which I don't. I mean, I say she's training with him, but the report says that she was training him, which is not the best. I mean, if you're telling me someone's the next Brock Lesnar, and then you tell me that Eva Marie's training.
Look, I am not, and I've not been a fan of All Red Everything. She was all bad everything, and it took me a while to write that line. So let's just make it hashtag that all bad everything. I know they felt like she had the look and everything, but she was not good in the ring. She didn't have the skills. She needed more training. So I'll give her a pass on that. If you're legitimately going to come back and train, I don't want to see what we saw. You need to come in this ring, and at the end of the day, you're a professional wrestler.
Yep.
A professional spokesperson. We had that back in the 80s. That is done. So if you're going to get into this ring, you better get into this ring, and you better put in some work. So I don't know.
Unless she's just going to be somebody's valet. But I think if she were to come back, she's so hated in the wrestling world that I think she would be booed. I mean, I think it would be so hard for her to win the audience. I mean, she'd have to come back heel, but she already did the stupid gimmick where she was too hurt to fight or whatever. So like, I don't know how she would come back and overcome unless she came back amazing and really whooped butt.
But you had a heel in Zelina Vega. I was all about Zelina Vega.
Yeah, he was.
She was good. She was
Zelina Vega's, her best work was just months before she left. It's crazy.
Yeah.
She was doing so good.
Got good and got the boot. So, heck, we might even see her. We know it's already been 90 days.
Or her husband.
Or Aleister Black. Well, Aleister Black's still on the contract?
Yeah, so we spoke on Monday on Savage Talk Extra, and that was the headline. It was, they asked Tony Khan about Zelina Vega, and he said, I'm pretty sure that she's got a 90-day no wrestling clause, but it'll be over soon. And he said once it's over, he would like to speak to her. And I was trying to say on the show that if your other half goes to AEW, doesn't mean you are, but not being used at the same time and don't feel like you've been treated right.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he'd do amazing over there.
Yeah, completely. He would totally do amazing over there. To me, there's no doubt that couple is going to show up over there. She may start as his valet because she's such a good talker, but I believe they'll be there as a couple. And Eric Rowan, to me, is only a matter of time as well. I mean, I don't think he's actually doing any wrestling right now. But the last time I saw an interview with him, He was so disappointed because he had so many ideas. To him, he said every character he did was still an evolution of the character before. And he kept trying to be like, no, okay, well, now I came over here. But he was trying to stay loyal to the character and kind of bring it with him and evolve them. And he had ideas before they did this spider. He even wanted to be crazy and like kidnap somebody and have that be who was in the bag and stuff like that. And they just shut him down and wouldn't listen to his ideas at all. And he was like, I knew when I was going out here, like, this is going to be the end of it.
I watched the exact same interview. It was with that Chris Van Fleet. And when I heard him speaking, I was like, this is what we missed out on.
Yeah, his idea is great.
Yeah, because I think he said that he's filming movies now.
Yeah.
But I'm like, all these ideas, especially coming from the Wyatt family, all of the darkness makes sense. I couldn't believe it when it was a spider in that cage. I thought it was a joke, but no, they actually...
Yeah, for sure. Like, wait, you guys are kidding that there was something else in there. Someone's playing a trick? Because, like, it was ridiculous. But much like, I mean, if I could see him, even though he's doing movies and stuff, I could see him maybe coming back for the same reason I could see Bray going over, just like as a little tribute to Brody and with Brody's son. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad idea at all. It's a shame. It actually makes me sad when I know what could have been, and you can see talent in those guys right off the bat. Everyone who was in the Wyatt family, amazing. I was so sold on that Bray Wyatt. I mean, a lot of people try and argue with me now that their favorite Bray Wyatt's the Fiend, but I'm like, no, I'm sorry. That he is a world Bray with the Wyatt family.
Yes.
Oh my day. I watch his promos back now. To this, I mean, a lot of the time I didn't know what he was talking about. He was talking about corn and grass and the buzzards, but I don't care.
Right.
I don't care. Last bit of news. I mean, this is a bit of a sour one, but I just thought I'd bring it up anyway because I think it's important. So I've seen that Kayla Braxton she's shut her Twitter account down now due to trolls. Now I know that at some point last year she was being trolled a lot because they were saying that she was the one who gave Drew McIntyre COVID, which is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I don't understand. And then she brought up a few things now, saying that she's been struggling with her mental health and stuff, and being a mixed race person. It's been like all this struggle. I'm like, I had no idea this was going on, but apparently people have been trolling her about it. And then I think her last message mentioned that, and then she was like, by the way, I'm bisexual as well, and she just shut her Twitter account down, which is it's crazy that people are still doing this to people to make people feel a certain way. It's crazy. I don't understand it at all.
And you can if she said, and by the way, I'm bisexual as well, right before she did it, it was like, well, here's something else you could come down on me about, because everything that is me is what people want to come down on. And that is why we really talk about our universe has really become such a place for bullying that and we don't tolerate it for a minute. We don't tolerate it in the comments. We don't tolerate it. We just don't tolerate it. And it just, and especially behind a keyboard, like so many people want to act big and bad behind a keyboard, but I bet you wouldn't say that to my face.
Yeah, exactly.
So for me, like I get because he is such a diplomat anyway, but like for me, like, yeah, we could talk about this outside if you want to talk about it outside, but over keyboard, you can say whatever you want to say. And so to me, it's just cowards that do the bullying.
I was like, she's great at her job.
She is.
Seems like no reason on this planet to hate that woman. I actually have the tweet here just so I don't mess up anything she actually said, but I was a bit confused by it. I think so. This is what her last tweet was. So my whole life I had to choose: are you black? Are you white? Which bubble do you fill? It's kind of ridiculous when you read it. I was like, this woman's going through some stuff, and she shouldn't have to be honest. And I actually can't believe that now people are having to come out and say stuff about their personal life. You just live your life, don't you? Just live your life, and when I see you with your partner, whoever it's a man or woman, then I know by seeing you with your partner, I don't need, you know what I mean? People having to feel like they have to say something before somebody finds out and tweets about it before they do. And
right, like it's controversy.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing that I will say definitely is that in professional wrestling, people always have something to say. And that's what made it fun. Yeah. Some people will go over the top, but I mean, you can have a difference of opinion, and we can still get along at the end of the day. Like Stone Cold and The Rock, you can have a beer at the end of the match and go on about your day. Today, and especially since the whole pandemic has hit, what I've seen even more so than ever is people really feel like they can say and do whatever they want, to the point of having somebody in tears to shut down their personal Twitter account or Instagram or whatever it is, because you're justified in trolling and bullying. And that's just ridiculous. We're all people. We all have opinions, but we're human. And so in this world, especially, like you said, oh, by the way, I'm just going to throw out the fact that I'm bi, you know, like you said, just pour some more dirt on me, if you will, and bury me.
Yeah.
It's a real shame that we just can't have a dialogue like we're talking right now.
Yeah.
But we agree. I'm sure there are other points that we may not agree on as far as wrestlers or matches and people in the comments. But we are all fans of professional wrestling, whether we're doing this, whether we're at home, or whether we're Caleb Braxton. So it's just ridiculous.
It's very sad. I was saying that there's a point where I don't want to sound like an old head, because I'm not like an old person, but there's a part where sometimes I'm like, I don't want to know so much about everyone. Like, I actually don't. I tell people on the channel all the time, of course, I love everyone, comment, say anything, talk to me, but everyone knows too much. And like I said, they know too much about nothing, because they tell me something and then I find out that what happened wasn't true, and you're hating this person for something outside of the wrestling business, and that's not what I care about. I'm watching wrestling for watching wrestling. Stop telling me who this person voted for and who this person, what their sexuality is, and what. I'm trying to watch a wrestling match.
We're just trying to be entertained. Stop ruining it with that.
Yeah. It's just over and over again, and you want to tell me the rumors of what's going on, and you got a spoiler for me. Just stop trying to ruin my experience. Right. Someone tried that with Endgame. It didn't end well for them. Stop trying these things. It's ridiculous.
Okay, look, we talked about this. Don't bring up Endgame, okay? I can't handle it. I got PTSD.
Someone's got to share in my pain. You have to share in my pain. But it's a very strange thing. I hope she will be okay. I'm sure she will. I mean, most people in the world, I like to think, are nice people. Very hard, because I know that a lot of people are like, well, just ignore them then. Well, kind of hard to ignore when you open your page to speak to nice people and you see a comment. It's very hard to, you know what I mean? Everyone's built different. I can see bad comments and I'm just like, oh, whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. But she's doing her job. She's trying to have a good time.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's weird.
We're fans. We love this. We just want to share what we love. That's essentially part of when we first met. Yeah. We didn't realize I was at work. I think she was at home. And I actually had Raw on the television, and she had Raw on the television. We were talking on the phone. She goes, "What are you watching?" And I said, "Oh, I'm watching Monday Night Raw." But I said, "But don't judge me, because most people are like, oh, you're an adult watching professional wrestling." She was like, "I'm watching Monday Night Raw," and then boom, you know, 2 suits later, and there you go. So,
I love it, man. I think it's great that you can share that together as well. It's a massive part of a lot of people's lives, and some people are still like, "Oh, you're a grown man watching wrestling." I'm like, this doesn't bother me in the way you think it bothers me. It bothers me that you're talking. It doesn't bother me that I'm still going to watch wrestling. It's crazy that people. Yeah, it seems like when people say it though, it's almost like, oh, I've missed out on all of this, so let me just bring it down anyway. Yeah. I didn't keep up with all these years. You're still watching that rubbish. I'm like, I remember you when you was a kid watching it.
Anybody, any person, they could say they're not a wrestling fan, but if you go to a live event and you are there when the lights go out and the lighters go on for, as you know, Bray Wyatt's coming out, you know, on the fire, when he was doing the firefight thing, and when the lights went out and the Undertaker's like bells hit, like everybody that was there, whether you're a longtime wrestling fan or not, you were a fan then, because they made you feel like so excited in a certain way. The same reason we're into Star Wars and into Marvel and all these things, because they're fun.
Yep.
That's why adults dress up on Halloween. You're a grown person dressing up on Halloween because it's fun, and we can still have fun.
Yeah, I think a lot of people need to find some of that. They need to find a bit of that fun in their life, and everyone's done this thing where you're going, your age is changing, but now the person you are is going along with it. Where does that go? I still enjoy wrestling how I always have. Yes, it's in a different way because I know more, but now I get to see my son doing what I was doing, and it's crazy. And I don't know if it might have been not the last live event I went to, the one before that. We didn't know at the time that the Shield were, because I think we knew that Roman was sick at the time, so we didn't know that Kurt Angle was going to be there. We heard that Triple H had done it in somewhere else and joined the Shield for a night. And they had stopped coming through the crowd, if you remember. They started to come out of normal entrance. So I remember sitting there, and then the music goes off, and I'm looking at the entrance, like, where are they? Yeah. And then the light starts flicking around, and I look to the left, and then my son just goes off. He's like, oh, the Shield are there. And it was just Seth and Dean, and then they got to the ring, and then there's like, oh, we've had to get another partner, and then Kurt Angle's music come off, and I promise my son, he was probably 10 at the time, he's 12 now, he started crying, like, in happiness. And I was like, Kurt Angle's not even from your time.
Right.
So happy. I couldn't believe it. And at that point, I was just like, listen, it doesn't matter what anyone says to me about wrestling. This is what it does to people. It brings out these emotions. Some of it's it brings out the little kid in you. You remember where you was when this happened, that happened. I get a lot of people now with older wrestlers who they turn up and everyone's like, oh, why is this has-been here? I get it sometimes in terms of wrestling in the ring, but sometimes it's nice to just see them. Because remember, from the era we've been watching wrestling, it was a more unsafe, unhealthy era of wrestling. So I've grown up on just seeing people die. They were addicted to painkillers, they died. Alcohol died because the pain was too much. So I see these ones now, I'm like, okay, they just missed it. They're still alive, they look healthy, they're making money. And I'm happy to see them. I'm just like, it's nice to see.
On AEW last night, I mean, they threw it out. It's just you're bringing it back to nostalgia. You've got great showmanship in the ring. That's what I'm saying. AEW right now, whether you love them or hate them, whether you're a fan of WWE or not, they're firing on all cylinders, and they're all getting that nostalgia for us. I mean, that's a great show.
Yeah, I mean, you realize now how many past wrestlers who were out of work wrestling could have been used to help the business and haven't been used because they were all Vince's friends and stuff, and now they're all on AEW. You got Cody Rhodes, who is a student of the game. He respects everything about the business.
Right.
So you see people like, I'm watching Jake the Snake cut promos on AEW, and I see in the comments, and some people are like, what's this old geezer doing? I'm looking at it like it's Jake the Snake. Who you know about Damien? Yeah. You know what that snake used to do to me?
Speak on it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I watched him bite Ultimate Warrior, and it's absolutely crazy. So I will say to people who are quick to say stuff about AEW, that's fine. Everyone has their opinion. If you actually watched it and you don't like it, then you don't like it. But please don't come to me with a 4-minute YouTube clip and then tell me you didn't like the show, because that show's great from start to finish. Their tag team division is some of the best things I've ever seen. It's crazy.
Yeah, Ray does stuff that just is like, what happened? What did he just do?
Exactly. They got flipping JR on commentary, which every time he speaks, I'm like, it's JR. What was the reason that he couldn't be doing this in WWE? There was no reason for it.
Nobody's like
no reason for it. I mean, they brought him back for a special WWE. I think it was when Pete Dunne won the UK title. They brought him back to do that, and I think his wife had died that year. I was like, okay, Vince is doing a nice thing, but you've seen the response, Vince. Everyone wants JR back, and then I never seen him again.
Yep.
And the thing is now, people don't have to keep their mouth shut. Everyone's got a voice, so they will tell you what happened. They will tell you the reason why this happened or that happened. I remember at the time with John Moxley leaving, once he got onto that Jericho podcast and he explained what they were trying to get him to do, and I was like, oh, I see why you left.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Go and do your thing and enjoy your career, and you know what I mean? Because it's a short career sometimes. So
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
One little bit of news left, and then what we'll do is we'll open up for no holds bar Q&A. And guys, you can ask us whatever you want. Fire the questions in, and we'll get into it. Last bit of news. I don't know if anyone's seen this. It was Pat McAfee and Cody Rhodes going at it. Did anyone see this?
No.
Funny stuff. So Pat McAfee made some comments about AEW, and Cody didn't take kindly to it. I'm going to show you what he wrote. This is quite funny.
Okay.
Let me get this up.
All right.
Okay, so this is Cody's. This is Cody at the top. I didn't see a particular comment, especially from Pat, which is super bizarre because I'm pretty sure Pat is trying to get a job at AEW like every other day.
Wow.
And then, yeah, you see what Pat's replied at the bottom. I think I can get that comment off so I can see, but it's. I was in stitches because he's.
Wow.
That's wow.
Incredible.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh,
Salty.
Oh my goodness.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
It's crazy. It's crazy. This is what's happening now.
But you know what? I'm actually, my feeling on it is this. When it comes to K-Fab, I'm really old school. And, The Undertaker, for the most part, stayed in character over the last 30 years.
Yep.
That was tough to do.
Yep.
But he's an old school performer. Like he had told Triple H, we're the last of a dying breed, which is fine. The issue that I have, and I'm fine with using social media, it's hard to see we're going to go to work and we're going to pretend like we hate each other, but then we're still going to demand these donuts on YouTube. Like it kind of takes me out of that a little bit. So I don't know where to go with that. For something like this, as long as they're staying in that mode of we're having a real feud about this business, so come to my world and let's get it on. Like I'm okay with that. If this is really going to go somewhere.
Exactly. I feel the same.
Yeah. So,
you're right. We had the show 2 weeks ago now, and my main title of that show is Kayfabe Dead. And, a lot of people was like pretty much saying to me, are you stupid? Of course it's dead. But I'm still a bit old school, and I like to see just a little bit. All I'm asking for now is a little bit. So with the supernatural type stuff, fair enough. I get it. If I see you in gym clothes or something like that, I'm not expecting you to, I'm not expecting the Fiend in a corner living in just, that's fine. But there was little things like what you said, the Mandy's Donuts. At the time, I was actually impressed at the beginning because they split up on screen. They had the Mandy's Donuts, but the post that Mandy put up was like, all this stuff's half price now. I'm getting rid of it because I don't want her face on anything. I was like, oh, this is dope. Keep it going.
Right.
I kind of let her off because obviously we seen what happened with Sonya Deville. It's her friend. So I knew that was going to happen. Fair enough. But there's some stuff where I'm seeing these girls in TikTok dances together. I'm like, Lana. I know TikTok's your finger in that, but you and the guy were like doing the best friend thing. Then you turned on each other. So the TikTok has to stop now.
Right. Yeah.
Don't do it.
It's so weird. It's so weird. And like you said,
TikTok, as you do before perfecting your in-ring skills. Maybe you wouldn't got put through a table 9 times by Nia Jax. But that's neither here nor there, because that still has had no payoff.
No payoff at all.
At all.
And we know from history that what WWE do is they do the Men in Black thing. It never happened. Let's not talk about it. Yeah. I'm still trying to find out what happened between Liv and Lana, but no one's telling me. I don't.
Nobody.
I mean, that was what, 5 minutes long. I mean, I think that whole idea was like, you know what? Go run out there real quick and say this. That's what that seemed like. Because after it was, it was.
But that's another example of where you had Bobby Lashley in this ridiculous storyline, which didn't really do anything for him. It didn't elevate his career really in any way. But then you got MVP, who comes back after so many years. They managed to develop the Hurt business. And now you have Bobby Lashley, who once was in this ridiculous storyline, to now being the world heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, guys. Look at your writing and what you're doing here and adjust this. Adjust it.
Shout out to MVP because what he's done is incredible.
So good.
So good. But you are right. It's a lot of stuff have happened with no payoff, and then it's like, oh yeah, let's forget about it. Fastlane's coming up. I'm like, you're not gonna talk about what just happened? No. We don't have to talk about that anymore. I mean, I remember at one point Roman was trying to kill Braun. He tried to run him over, and then they were on the same Survivor Series team.
Right.
What? He tried to kill you last week.
Right.
That's a bit of an issue, and that's the thing we saw, because we follow Adam Shearer, on his Instagram. So we've seen he's trimming down, he's getting in shape, he's coming back, monster among men, and I love his attitude, but still not getting. He still seems to be missing that brass ring. Like he gets so close, but they just keep holding him back, and I don't get it. I don't get it.
I mean, he was on top of the business 3 years ago, and he looked like he was going to take off. He had the Monster Among T-shirts. Everyone was shouting, "Get these hands!" And then, but then Brock beat him up, and then just don't know what happened after that. Then next thing I know, he was in mixed match challenge matches with Alexa, lifting cars and stuff.
Yeah, it's
crazy. I think. I mean, back to what happened with Liv Morgan. I think I watched the documentary, and she was saying that when she was they were doing that vignette where they were teasing her coming back. She was doing her hair and stuff, and I just noticed that this is the same thing that they just done for Carmella. It's exactly the same thing. They were doing her hair for weeks, and then she came out, and then on the documentary, she said that just before she walked out, they pulled the match, and she didn't get to debut and stuff and do all the thing. I was like, wow. At that time, everybody was saying, everyone was like, oh, surely this is Sister Abigail. Surely it's Liv.
Yeah.
And then I got the ear to the streets. The fans think it's her already. At the time, you wasn't going to go with Alexa Bliss. And let's be honest, Alexa's great at what she's doing now, but she doesn't need it. She's great. She doesn't. Liv does. I don't know. Yeah. Like I said, I do believe that whoever is working on the creative team, I'm sure that in their own right, they're good at writing scripts and stories and stuff, but not for wrestling. You have to feel it. You have to know what's going to happen 9 months down the line to start a story. These guys, and from the rest of themselves, they're saying that I didn't know this was going to happen until the day of my match. What do you mean you didn't know? Surely you should know what's going to happen down the line. And that's why you can see with Bray, he left all these little Easter eggs. And then as soon as the Fiend came, we start looking at stuff before, and it's like, oh, he told us.
Right.
This is great storytelling. And
Exactly. You start it, you finish it to a logical conclusion. There are just so many loose ends that WWE does that you get us invested in it, and then you act like it never existed. The audience will never know, and then they move on.
Yeah, the last was Jeff and Sheamus. I mean, everyone's not long ago they were doing this. Oh, Jeff's an alcoholic thing, and I'm going to kick him in the face. Let's have a bar match, and then it was over. Otis. I keep saying that Otis in 2020 had the best, worst year of a wrestler I've ever seen. The biggest push, and then they give him the Money in the Bank. They gave him Mandy Rose, and then he lost all of it. And now he's back with Chad Gable in a tag team when he was already in a tag team.
Right.
And that's what we said. And what happened to his tag team partner?
Right.
The writing's on the wall for a lot of things. I mean, we've all been able to see a mile off that. We don't want a reincarnation of Kurt Angle, but we can see that Chad Gable's wrestling skills, his actual wrestling skills, is ridiculous. He's an Olympian.
Yeah.
Oh, let's make Jason Jordan his son then. What?
Yeah, exactly.
And now we have to forget about it. So then I'm sure the next time we see Jason Jordan, they won't bring up that it's Kurt Angle's son again.
Yeah.
No.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But that's how it is. Unless they're going to employ us.
We maintain the idea that secretly there are employees of WWE that watch our shows.
Yeah.
We'll comment on it, and then the very next week or whatever, we're like, wait a minute, did they just...
Right.
We need no writing credit, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'll 100% believe it. As long as we know within our soul that it was our idea.
Exactly, as long as we know.
Yeah.
But I'm actually a big fan of Bo Dallas, and I believe that he's something that they really wasted, that they just can't figure it out. And I would like to see him at AEW too.
I mean, he's used, so why not?
Yeah, he's great. He's still got a WWE contract. They're paying him for nothing.
Exactly.
I think with a lot of guys, you need to let them express themselves if they can. Let them do it themselves, or let them try. And if it doesn't pay off, then it's on them. But I can tell when stuff has been written for people. Yeah. We could look at this Roman Reigns compared to the old Roman Reigns.
Oh, right.
I can see the difference. He's gone from sucker in succotash to your grandfather's a fool.
Right.
Yeah. Even Cena said, remember when Cena came back, he's like, look, they had to bring me back because you suck on the okay. You suck.
Right. And Roman was my guy at the time, and I had to be like, yeah, he's kind of right, Roman. I mean, it's all gone wrong. Your jaw's not as chiseled. You lost the contacts, and I just used to like it when you said believe that, and now you talk too much, and it's all like Vince is in your ear. Take the earpiece out.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, because there was a lot of stuff from the early '90s in them. Some old Bobby the Brain stuff. I was like, that was funny at the time, but he was winking at the camera and stuff. And crazy.
Absolutely.
But let's get into the Q&A, guys. It's open.
All right.
We 10 minutes of a Q&A. Throw in whatever you want. Guys, you can see the questions on the screen if I bring them up, can't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see more screens right now.
Send in the questions, guys.
What do we got?
Everyone's typing away. This is what happens. It goes quiet and then bam. Coming back up.
Eva Marie, gosh, this you really brought her up. Come on.
I'm sorry, man. I had to do it. I think the worst thing about it is usually I'll just see a comment. I'm like, that can't be true. Yeah. Then I see the picture of them together, and that's when I knew I was like, oh, it's not false.
Yeah,
it's real. Brother Nero has a question here. You guys can answer.
Brother Nero.
Where is it? Here we go. The James Baldwin as well. Should Brock Lesnar versus Lashley happen?
Yeah, if it can have. I mean, well, first of all, though, we can't just get rid of Drew. Drew has a shot in there. And so we know it needs to be Drew and Bobby. But remember that Drew beat Brock. And so he's no easy win. And I think who wouldn't want to see Bobby against Brock? So I actually would love to see Drew versus Bobby versus Brock.
Triple threat. That would be a wrestle because WrestleMania is 2 nights again.
Right.
Yep.
That would be a WrestleMania worthy match.
Yeah.
For sure. I think that would be good. I'm in.
What do you guys think of the two night WrestleMania? Think it's a good thing or?
Well, I hope so. I mean, we all know what last year's was, but with how far everyone has come this year, I would actually have high hopes now that they're doing the cinema thing that it would, be good.
Yeah, we're fans of WWE Studios, so the fact that they have utilized this pandemic situation to film stuff, because otherwise it wouldn't have happened. Because we've said this, we were talking about this last night. Out of necessity comes invention, which is why we had the Attitude Era, which is why now we had this Boneyard match with AJ Styles and Undertaker. Wouldn't have happened in a non-pandemic world. But we also said this last night. If you're going to do a 2-night WrestleMania, I think the problem that WWE has had is they forgot what WrestleMania was. They call it the biggest night ever. If you go back to WrestleMania 1, 2, 3, you had superstars, megastars, performers. You had people in the entertainment world. This was a huge thing. And I just feel like over time, it's kind of dwindled. So obviously in the pandemic world, you can only do but so much. Totally get that. This year, they're talking about opening up to having some tickets, so having a limited live audience again. If it's going to be 2 nights, you need to go back to your roots of what WrestleMania was and bring that pageantry back, because that has been lacking.
Yeah, I agree. I was happy with what they'd done last year only because I knew how hard it would be. I could see that they didn't have a clue, so let's do the best you can. And to be honest, some of the matches are pretty good. It was weird not hearing no crowd noise.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching
that's really tough. Like, it's really tough. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching the Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins match, and I was like, match is really good, but there's no noise. It's very weird.
Yeah.
But They've done the best they could. Only problem I thought is once night one's over and you start watching number 2, you kind of forget about night 1.
Yeah,
because it's the lasting impression before it's over, and then you go to Raw the day after. So, but yeah, another question for you guys: do you think Keith Lee join the Hurt Business and win the US bout at Mania? And how do you feel about Cameron Grimes? Is he underrated, developing a good character?
Oh man, I do not. I feel it would be kind of a shame if Keith Lee did have to join the Hurt Business, because he didn't need that in NXT. He was able to stand on his own 2 feet, and he won these championships.
Yeah.
So if you're saying that he's going to join the Hurt Business, which means to me that he can't make it on his own in the big ocean. This is a big dude who stands out, and it's got the skills
and the strength.
Yeah. So for him to join the Hurt Business to do it, I think that's a disservice to him. Cameron Grimes, I don't love him so much. He's very good in the ring. I think he is very underrated. I'm not a fan of that particular character.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I feel like he's trying to figure out his character right now. It's a little confusing, actually, when I'm watching him. I don't know exactly what I'm watching.
Yeah. How do you feel about it?
I like the stuff he's doing outside. I already thought he was good in the ring, and I think the last couple of weeks the music video stuff's hilarious. But
yeah,
I don't think he's underrated. I think he's rated exactly where he should be.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. I don't feel like no one's paying attention to him, but I don't feel like he should be getting like Keith Lee eyes on him, because the 2 different. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure that hopefully he figures it out and he can stick with a character, because sometimes when it's chop and changing, it gets a bit confusing. I mean, I don't know where the Velveteen Dream is, because I love his character. I don't know where he's gone.
I'm wondering that too.
Yeah,
he's disappeared. I mean, there was a little bit of controversy there. So that might
a while after that. They let him rest a while after that. After that stuff,
they did. But I mean, it was like he was gone, then he came back, and now he's gone again. So I almost feel like they're kind of letting some things cool out so they don't draw into it.
Maybe. Brother Nero said, should Bobby have a long reign as champion?
I mean, he is showing when he beat Braun. Well, first of all, he was surprised when he beat Braun, but when he beat Braun, all of us were shocked to that level, because we really kept thinking, oh, Keith Lee is going to come and he's going to shut Bobby down. But then he got injured, and then we thought, oh, Braun could do it.
Yep.
You know, I couldn't do it. So then I'm like, well, wait, dang. So then at this point, I can't see him not having a long reign. Why not?
Yeah, I believe so as well. I believe so. Hopefully they don't just take it off him, because I was starting to worry weeks ago about the Hurt Business. They kept teasing that thing between Shatton and Cedric, and I was like, please don't do that. This group's perfect. So
and
they continue. Yeah.
That's kind of what they do. I mean, honestly, I wasn't the hugest fan of the Iconics, but they were entertaining and they were good. I mean, and he loved them.
I love them.
They were just kind of annoying to me, but not to the point where it made sense to break them up and do it. Like you didn't even do an issue between them. You just made it seem like you were pulling them apart like you did with the New Day. And it's like, why are you doing that? Why are you ripping them apart? And then you're just trying to force. I don't know what you were trying to do, but it never works. You keep breaking up these people too soon.
But that's a perfect example, because you had Big E. We already knew Big E had the skills. He has the look, but he didn't get to that status. It wasn't until the New Day formed that it just blew up. So now you want to go ahead and break these people up when you do these draft business, and he's on SmackDown and they're over here, which is fine. But the one thing that Big E is still doing that Billy Kay and Peyton Royce aren't, is that Big E is still repping the New Day.
Yeah,
they still coming out in the office. You see, he's got the gear. He's still repping it, because he's not forgetting. If it wasn't for the New Day, he would not be Intercontinental Champion today.
Right.
Yeah, I like that about the New Day. I've always seen Kofi say over the years that they've seen these groups over and over years split up, and he's like, why do we have to? It doesn't have to be like that. So I agree. I feel the same, and I definitely think Bobby should have a long reign, because that's how wrestling used to be. It doesn't have to be this, you can have 2 weeks and then you can have 2 weeks business. It's kind of ridiculous.
Well, yeah, these champions, I mean, look, people, I don't know how many people were watching, but do you remember, like, even Hulk Hogan, he was champion for 4 years straight.
Yeah.
Let's think about that. Bob Backlund before him, 6 years.
Yeah.
He was the champion. That's insane to think about in today's terms.
Yeah.
So I'm not expecting 2 years, 1 year. At least give him 6 months. Let him go through WrestleMania at least.
Right.
Yeah, right. I said the same when people were asking about Roman's title. I was like, keep it on him. Well, he doesn't have to lose it. He's not even broke a sweat properly yet. Let him
right.
Just keep it on him. Eventually, he's gonna have to defend it properly, and then he can scratch and claw to win the match. But he doesn't have to lose the belt. I mean, if you want to try and replicate how other sports are, combat sports, UFC and boxing and stuff, well, that's what happens. People keep the title for a long time.
Yep.
Eric Travis, this is for you guys. Who is your best heel of all time? Oh, and me too. I gave mine on Monday. We done a show on the greatest heel of all time, and mine was Vince McMahon. So the guys,
gosh, greatest heel of all time.
It's hard, isn't it? It's very hard to answer.
I actually know who mine is, and what's weird about this is I don't know. It's not because I hated him the most. It's because he was who I loved to hate the most when I was a kid, and it was Rowdy Piper. Rowdy Piper. So like when we were a kid and there was the cartoon and it was Piper and his gang versus Hulk Hogan and Junkyard Dog, and they were like as a kid, I loved to hate him, and even as he went on, he was just such a great heel. I just loved him.
It's crazy you said that. That's actually the consensus online. If you go online and type in the greatest heels of all time, on most lists, it's Triple H and Rowdy Piper at the top.
Yeah.
Triple H when I was a kid he was a great heel. I only went with Vince because Vince is this geezer's got no redeeming qualities. This guy's Sidious. He's evil for no reason. And I watched Vince versus God last night, and I was like, yeah, it's confirmed for me that it's.
But for sure, and I got to tell you that I don't even know how many years ago it was now when Vince McMahon got his star on the Walk of Fame, but I heard that it was going to happen, and he was out of the room at the time. So I was like, hey, we're going to take off work and we're going to take a trip down to Hollywood. I have something for you, but I didn't tell him what it was. And we knew that somebody was getting a star, but he had no idea who it was. So we're in the store, and I'm like, come here. And he turns around, and walking by is Vince, Triple H, walking to just, and everyone who's gathered around Hollywood is like, what? You know, what? After giving his acceptance speech. It was awesome.
That is a great story.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah.
That was good stuff. Wow.
That is Roddy Piper. Come on, who's your favorite heel?
You know what? My favorite heel, Macho Man.
Yeah.
You know, he
did it too.
He embodied his role. Look, that's just who he was. Period, point blank. Even when he was a face, he was still a heel. And he was so good. He was so believable. And there will never be another Macho Man. And but also because people don't know his last name was Poffo. He was Lanny Poffo. A lot of people don't even know that. And those are two totally different wrestlers. You would never know they were brothers. So to embody that Macho Man Randy Savage role the way that he did, and the mega powers and the mega powers,
just the way he shook Hulk's hand, just the way he was doing the handshake.
There's nothing like it, you know. It's so great, you know. I love it.
He's actually one of the if not the, when it comes to on the mic promos, there's no one like him. It's actually ridiculous. I watched if you watch the Macho King clips of him and Sensational Sherry, he's so passionate that he's almost bullying her. Like she's saying you're amazing, and he's like, "Shut up, woman!" And I'm like, And then he's like, tell him again. Tell him. I'm like, oh my God, this guy. Incredible.
You couldn't do that in 2021. You couldn't do that.
No.
You could, what it stretched it, but yeah, for sure.
You should try it when we're doing our next segment. Just shut up.
Please.
You heard it here first.
See how they react.
So if anybody in the comments,
I'm gonna send you both the clip, the exact clip I want you to do. It's about a minute long, but I love it because she's telling him how like she's quiet while he's talking, and then he's saying, "Tell him how amazing I am," and then she starts telling him, and he's like, "Go away." I'm like,
yes, we will start our next show that way.
We're doing it.
All right, let's breeze through these then, because I see the comment section get filled up. I know they're getting agitated. Okay, quick.
Okay, we'll keep our answers.
Kevin, who is winning WrestleMania, Sasha or Bianca? I think I know your answer. I know who you want to win anyway. It's Bianca, for sure.
You know what? Actually, even though I did not realize that Sasha has never won one of her WrestleMania matches.
Yeah, she's never won.
She's
never won, you correct, yeah.
And so there's a part of me that does want that for her. She's been in the game a little longer and put in some more work. So I wouldn't be mad if Sasha won, but I can't imagine Sasha beating Bianca unless it is because of a Carmella or Reginald interference. Yeah,
that could happen. I would be okay with Bianca losing as long as I see one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time, because that's what I'm expecting. Yes. If that happens and it ends up being one of those ones where, listen, you just lost, it was great, and you just, I'm okay for it, but yeah.
Have a wressling clinic. We know Bianca Belair can do it. But I've also said, I said in one of our comments, and somebody else said the Undertaker had a WrestleMania winning streak, so let's have Sasha have a WrestleMania losing streak.
Yeah. It makes for a great story. It makes for a great story because eventually when she does win, it'll be massive.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Zilla, should Charlotte and Asuka happen at WrestleMania, it would be a rematch for Asuka that's obviously from the last WrestleMania match they had. Charlotte's my favorite wrestler, but I'm not interested in Charlotte versus Asuka. It's kind of pointless at this point.
Yeah, I'm not either, really. I think they will give Charlotte the belt before then. I think they expect Charlotte to do WrestleMania with the belt in hand already. I don't see her getting it from her at the thing.
I mean, right now Charlotte doesn't have any legit competition because Lacey Evans is pregnant. I mean, I was a fan of Lacey Evans. Her in-ring skills. I mean, she's very strong. She's got the look. Her character was cool. I think that had potential to be a really good match. Now that that's obviously not happening, do you want to see a Charlotte and Asuka?
There's no emotion behind it.
There's no build up to that other than I just want the title again. There's no story that's been built up. And that's the one thing I always hated the last several years with The Undertaker, is that it got to a point where we just expected to see Undertaker at WrestleMania, but he had no build up except the last couple of weeks in. And it just felt very rushed. I don't think so.
Yeah, it ends up being just a throwaway match. I think that's what's going to happen as well, which is a shame. But
as I'm saying, he deserves better than that.
Yeah. Brother Nero says, will Vince pull a Vince and ruin Rhea Ripley? I'm going to go out on a limb and say,
don't say
yes, he's definitely going to ruin Rhea Ripley.
What I was telling him is that if Raquel and Rhea were tag team champions, they would be tag team champions for a good 6-7 years, because those two powerhouses, those women, I mean, right now they hate each other, but man, they would be,
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Brother Nero says, who is the best promo in WWE right now?
Us. No, I'm kidding.
So you can't beat that. You know what? I'm gonna go Orton on this for me.
Orton's great. Orton's great.
Well, you mean the whole battle situation with Orton in the
every promo he cuts is fire.
Oh yeah, and this, I mean, the last one, honestly, I mean, I just can't. It's every time I'm like, I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to think. I don't even know what to expect anymore. And that's great. It's great.
Who do you like?
Mine's Roman.
Roman, okay.
Yeah. I mean, Randy Orton to me is always going to be one of the greats of all time. And
but that's a lot for Roman because he was terrible on the mic.
Exactly. I think that's what it is. I think it's because I've seen the improvement so much.
Yeah.
And it seems so. I mean, it could be between neither of them. To be honest, Randy's just great on the mic anyway. But it's so believable what he's saying. Yeah, Roman for me. Michael. Shout out to Michael, Scottish psychopath in the house. Where does The Miz go from here now, considering his title reign was so short? I don't think it hurts The Miz one bit that he's lost the title, by the way. But
The Miz is not there for the purpose of being a champion. I mean, when he has something, if he has a belt or if he has money in the bank, then yeah, it gives him a little more leverage. But hey, ho, Miz and Morrison will not run out of material. I mean, he is still pretty much the face of WWE without a title. I mean, you see him hosting stuff, you see his reality show, you see him at all the promotions, working backstage, working the audience, and I mean, he's a hard worker in the WWE with or without a belt.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
I agree. One of my for me, The Miz is one of the best Intercontinental champions there's been in the last 10 years. I loved his last reign with the white belt.
Yeah, yes.
So it was so good. You could tell he was the hardest worker in the company at the time.
And
even turning up to, was it that?
Didn't it?
Have that? Was it the Raw? They had that Raw anniversary when he got beat up by Dix and everyone. It's hilarious. The guy's amazing. You can see that he's an actor. You can see the acting class and stuff has worked because anything he says, I'm all in. I believe straight away. So shout out to The Miz. Who is the best tag team in the WWE? Tag team divisions took a hit over the last year, to be honest. They were doing great stuff, and since the Usos are injured, I'm just going to go with the New Day because,
New Day. I mean, New Day is awesome, but I mean, you've been seeing NXT has been bringing in. They just had the Andre the Giant. Was it which? No. It wasn't Andre the Giant.
The Dusty Rhodes Classic.
The Dusty Rhodes Classic. Yeah. You really saw, I think, some tag teams in the Dusty Rhodes Classic taking it to another level that stood out to me.
Yeah, MSK were great in that tournament.
Yeah, no, oh my God. And so I probably might say it right now, MSK, because I don't really think, I mean, I do love the New Day, but I don't know if they're even going to give them the belts back again. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Well, speaking of the belts, that's the problem. I'm going to tell you right out of the gate. First of all, the tag team belts are hideous. I can't stand them. They're the worst. And they have no place in this division. They got to redo this completely. But that's neither here nor there. Once you get some new belts going, I would probably say, I'm a big fan of the Street Profits. I didn't love them when they first came over. I felt there was too much talking, not enough action. Yeah. Now they got into the ring. I'm all about the Street Profits.
They're so good.
Yeah, they are.
So good.
We need new belts.
Montez might be one of the most athletic people I've ever seen in the WWE.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, that's
some of the stuff he can do. Yeah,
come on, man.
Yeah. Of course. Stephen Jackson 167. Hey, from the UK. What has been your best pay-per-view so far and why? I don't know if he's talking about of all time. I'm assuming it's probably over the last year or so, maybe. But my favorite pay-per-view is probably. It used to be always be between Royal Rumble and Mania, but since Mania's gone a bit downhill in certain parts, I think I'll just go with Royal Rumble. It's the one I'm always the most excited for. Yeah, Royal Rumble.
I don't remember which pay-per-view had NXT invading WWE. Which one was that when?
Survivor Series, I think.
Was it Survivor Series when NXT invaded WWE and it was NXT and Triple H would show up with NXT guys and that build-up was...
That was great. There's Leo Rush on the front of a tank.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great.
Okay, I was on a tank. Okay, Lash. I mean, I love doing that.
Hashtag bring back Leo Rush, man. This guy's incredible.
Right?
You know what? For me, I would probably say, I've really been a fan of NXT's pay-per-views. Their takeovers, their pay-per-views, because the thing is, it's 2 hours of no nonsense wrestling.
Yep, 100%.
They get in there. It's hard hitting. You see both the men and the women put their bodies on the line, flying off of ladders, flying off of cages,
jumping off of a cage in a trash can.
If you're lower, I don't want to say lower, but let's be honest.
Beginning level.
Let's be honest. Yeah, people would graduate from NXT to the main roster. Yes, some have gone from there to NXT, but if that level of wrestling and if that level of showmanship is better than Royal Rumble, and there's an issue. I think there's an issue.
Yeah, right. I agree. I've not seen a bad NXT takeover so far.
Yeah,
at all. And you're right. The timing's right. It's no nonsense. It's straight to the point. It's not full of adverts. Yeah, I agree.
They have just enough, but it's really barely any filler. It's just match after match, and each match is like a full course meal, and you feel satisfied after eating it. You're like, yes, that was good. Right. I don't have room for more, and they keep giving you more. It's just excellent.
All right, guys, last couple of questions. AEW Revolution doing tag team battle royal. Who do you think can be, if you pick, who do you think is going to be in the ladder match last entrance? Oh, okay, it's a battle royal. I've seen somebody else ask the same question as well. And a few people said Enzo and Big Cass. I don't know. I actually don't know. This is a question I actually cannot answer. I don't have a clue. So,
it's. I don't know. That's based on what because we were watching AEW last night, and I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard to say. We got to think about that. We may have to come back to that. We got to.
See, this is the same problem I had.
Because usually number 30 is gonna, or if it's gonna be a 30, whatever. That the last entrance is usually supposed to be a big surprise, but you're almost surprised every week on AEW. So it's hard to even know. Like, I really have no idea who's signing this weekend. Like it's
hard. The landscape could change. It's so
hard.
I agree. AEW is still so new. I mean, it started October 2019. It's still so new that anyone who comes is a surprise at this moment. So, Anna Dawes, shout out to Anna. What's your favorite botch? Mine is Shockmaster, where he falls through the wall. The Shockmaster! Oh, God. That's if you guys listen faintly to that, when he falls through, you can hear Ric Flair in the background. Oh, God. Hilarious. Hilarious. Favorite botch? I don't know if I have a favorite one because it kind of winds me up when I see them, but
there's so many.
It's kind of, I don't know if I even really
it's kind of hard.
That's a heck of a question.
I don't know if I can go off all time because I just can't think. Okay, mine is it can't be is it a botch? It's Vince tearing his quads. It's not his fault, but it's quite funny because he looks like a little kid telling people what to do on the floor. And obviously at the time I had no clue. Yeah. So when I found out that's what happened, I'm like, oh, he really loves the bit. He just carried on. Like that must hurt so much.
Yeah. That's what? I guess
this could be it. Titus World Slide. Yeah, it's Titus. That's
all right, we'll go with that. There we go.
Oh, there we go. You couldn't make that up. He was too perfect. Oh, yeah. John Elite, best faction from any promotion, modern day. Oh, best faction.
Modern day. As in the last few years, modern day. That's what
I'm guessing so.
We'll probably have to guess.
I'm gonna go with the Shield, but we don't know the timeline of modern day. But
right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the Wyatt family.
I was gonna say it's kind of a toss-up between the Wyatt family and the Shield.
I agree. I feel like if you give any of those two answers, either one, because
to
be honest,
the Wyatt family. So
to be honest, the Wyatt family did give me more. They gave me a lot more. I can't. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Wyatt family as well. Actually,
yeah.
Like, yeah, man, I'm gonna go with that. R.I.P. Lou Harper, man. Shout out to you. Question: how do you guys feel about Bray Wyatt and Randy and Alexa Bliss storyline? Do you think this is going to turn into evil Randy versus Randy? If you can find a way to actually, I was about to say if you can find a way to fight himself, but with green screen.
I'm thinking
watch Gemini Man. He can fight himself.
Yeah, the way that they have technology these days, you put that green suit on that covers you, and you wrestle somebody, and they could project whoever on it. So I was actually thinking, like, they actually probably could have like a little tussle between Randy and Randy. Yeah. I don't know about a full-blown match, but maybe.
I can see it because, like, we were talking about that when you had Undertaker versus Undertaker back in the day. That was obviously a different actor, a different performer, excuse me. But they pulled it off. You had evil bought, $1 million Taker. That's the thing about this new pandemic world. You have this opportunity to film something and do something that you wouldn't have done if it's done right. Because I mean, I'll be honest with you, we legit, when we reacted to that Monday Night Raw when Randy was looking at himself, we were freaked out because I love horror films. That was awesome.
It was great.
If they can figure that out.
Well, I mean, they had him cover Bray, and then all of a sudden it was Fiend. I mean, that was just like, so, yeah.
They've been doing really good with stuff like that. I mean, the whole thing with Alexa changing in the ring, but the way they've filmed it, and when I'm watching it, I'm like, how did they do that? Because it's not like the lights are going off. She just changed. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they've got to utilize this. Like, in the last pay-per-view, there was absolutely no Fiend, no Alexa, no lights, no anything. So seriously, just like we said with Retribution, if you're going to come in and create all this havoc and all this chaos and all these shows, but never show up on any pay-per-view at all, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you have nothing? You have pyro. Just do something. And they did nothing. So I think if they use that in Fastlane, if Orton's going to be in it, I mean, come on, guys.
I do agree because when The Undertaker used to be gone for a while and we knew he was coming back, you just get the little girls dancing in a circle on the Titantron and some snakes, and then there's music and some thunder, and then you wouldn't see him again. But at least we knew he was there.
You immediately got the chills. You knew.
Exactly.
So exactly.
Cast No Shadow, this is a good question. What is your first wrestling memory?
Go ahead.
I think I said this the other day. What? Okay, it is Royal Rumble. This is crazy. I think it's Royal Rumble '92. I think it's. I just remember Yokozuna and Randy Savage in the ring.
Yeah, I think that was '92.
Yeah, and he kind of pressed him out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was my first wrestling memory. I think there's loads of like scrappy. What I remember as a kid, I just remember what they wore. So I remember that as a wrestling, like somebody doing something. But I remember for some reason I remember Bob Holly's outfit, the racing stripes. I just remember it all the time. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit like a weird fetish, but I just.
Another Savage song. How about you?
It's hard. I don't really feel like I even remember like the very first time, and I almost think that I may have seen the cartoon first, and the cartoon get me interested in the show. Yeah. Like that might have been because what was that, like 80? We're really aging ourselves here, by the way. But it was sometime in the 80s. So yeah, I think that it was like mid 80s or so. Would that be right for the cartoon?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, for me, and I know I watched wrestling before this, but the first moment that really stands out in my mind is because my dad took me. It was WrestleMania 3.
Yeah.
And we saw this. This was in a theater. They had closed circuit television, so they piped it in.
Yeah.
And so that was my first real legit solidified in my mind memory when I saw that, and we saw Hulk Hogan slam Andre the Giant, and everybody just flipped out. And when I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, but I shared that with my dad, so that was something that really stands out to me.
That's dope, man. I love hearing people's first wrestling stories and stuff. It's deep sometimes. It takes you back to like crazy times. I was only speaking to the guys this year. Like my granddad's so into wrestling, it was ridiculous. I grew up thinking I was watching the pay-per-views at the time they was on, but he had taped them all from years before.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
You know, so when I was like 2 years old, 3 years old, and I was watching stuff with like Ric Flair and stuff like that, I thought it was happening at the time, and then as I grew up, I realized I've never seen Ric Flair and Austin fight each other, and then my grandma taped it. So
that's awesome.
That is really awesome.
It's dope, man. Guys, what we'll say, anyone in the chat, if I don't get across to your question, because I'm going to answer a couple more now, do us a favor, copy it, go to the A&B YouTube channel. It's in the description. Put it in the latest video, the question, and then do the same on my latest video, and then I'll answer them in the comment section, just so you don't feel left out. Because I know a few of you are spamming like 4 or 5 questions, and you know what I mean. So we'll go with this. Eric Travis asked question. I love Aleister Black. It's sad, but man, if they did it right with Aleister Black versus Roman Reigns or Big E versus Black, how do you feel about Apollo Crews' new gimmick? Yeah, I agree with the Aleister Black sentiment. He felt very special on NXT. It felt like there was going somewhere with him. He was very mysterious. He didn't talk too much. As soon as they put him in a suit on SmackDown with people knocking on his door, I knew it was over. I knew straight away. This is
right.
And he just kept saying stuff like "PK fight." I was like, "You're right, bro. This is what's going on there."
Right.
And how do I feel about Apollo's new gimmick? I love it. I don't like the fact how they just threw it on me. Like 1 week he was Smiley Apollo, and the next week he was embracing his heritage. But I can't complain too much. Can't have it my own way. Yeah. What he's doing is what he should have been doing, and it's incredible. And I hope he goes more into it, and I hope he ends up talking about the Zamunda, and he comes out with dancers and everything, and King Jaffe and all that. I'm here for it.
Yes.
And he will bring the steel.
Yes. Yes.
Please do it, man.
What I want to do is I want to see him come out with like 2 or 3 women as valets and say they're his wives, because he was very proud of that fact. You know.
Yes.
You know, for me, you know, Aleister Black, I think it got to a point where they did ultimately find his footing, and he was doing well, but he was always underrated. They never really knew exactly how to pit him and who to put him against. He's got in-ring skills like nobody's business, and he just has not been utilized, even when they kind of tweaked his character a little bit. I really thought something was going to happen when he was on Raw Underground for a minute, but I thought Raw Underground was going to be something, and it ended up not being anything. And like everything else, just got dropped all of a sudden.
Raw what? Under what? Under who?
See?
Yeah, but don't even speak about it
anymore. It had to happen. Like you said, enough of the smiling. You know, he had to do something. So I love it.
It's great.
Dope. Last question.
You know, I think it was a missed opportunity. I said this on the other video when we talked about this, because Apollo Crews could have said, I'm gonna start talking in the accent and saying, like, I'm gonna drop my American accent. I refuse to fit into this company and be what you want me to be anymore. This is the real me with the new accent. And we would have just thought he was doing an American accent the whole time. Yeah. So instead he used that reason to use the accent for his grandfather. So I just think it would have been kind of a good idea for them to actually give it to him to go with his character for the long run. But
I agree. Guys, thank you for joining us. Like I said, please comment in the comment section. Just copy the same question, send the same one for both of us. We'll definitely get back to it. To be honest, we could go on forever. We really could. Yeah, for sure. This won't be the last time. I'm glad we've worked out a way to do it, and it's worked out.
Thank you, Savage.
Hey, no problem at all. Guys, do me a favor. This Will guy in the chat, just jump on him for me, please, Savages, because he's doing my head in and he's saying some mad stuff. And, you know what I mean? Just allow it. Please just jump on this guy. But anyway, guys, it's been great. The YouTube channel. Guys, do you want to give them all your info? Instagram, YouTube, I've got stuff in the chat anyway.
Yeah, so our Instagram is AB Convos Wrestling Edition, Twitter, AB Convos WE. For that, and so we're really excited to continue to bring you guys more content, and we can't thank Pro Wrestling Savage enough for allowing us to have a Savage talk, air some grievances, talk about a couple things. But yeah, you can definitely see all that stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely been fun. I've enjoyed every second of it. So yeah, we'll do it again more than once for sure. But guys, thank you very, very much for joining us. I've been your boy Hugo the Savage. You know what the chat is. Shout out to Will, man. I like gorillas. They're my favorite animals. I just ate some watermelon and I'm happy with my big lips. Run.